Right, enough of that. Good. Thank you for joining, staff. Just on your way home. Nice of you to drop in. Are you in uniform, maggots? Is that deck swabbed, Master Chief Burgess? Goodness me, son. I was asking Ted about what he thought about the swabbing of the deck, and Ted did say to me that the quality of the deck swapping was
bollocks.
Right. So, anyway, we have the movie for today teed up. It's called Meat-Based versus Plant-Based Diet for Your Health by a bloke called Loren. It's looking great already, isn't it? All right, well, let's see what Loren has to say about our health and diet. And if he should so happen to get it wrong, which I suspect is what's likely to occur, we'll put him right wherever we notice such wrongness occurring. Won't we, Ted? What do you think?
What, are you retarded?
I really don't know why I bothered to ask Ted anything, frankly. It's incredible. Right, all right, thank you for that, Ted. Nonetheless, His Golden Eminence, Lord Edward Yellow, the other Field Marshal and Commander-in-Chief of the Meat Militia, of course, my constant confidant and companion throughout all operational proceedings, and also the executive producer of the show. That's why he's allowed to come on and say pretty much whatever he likes, pretty much whenever he likes. Yeah, so basically that's Ted, his Golden Eminence, Field Marshal Lord Edward Yellow, who is a giant of the entertainment industry, and as such, his preferred pronouns are fee, fi, fo, and fum. Right, moving on, let's hear from Loren about our health and diet in some way, shall we? Off you go, Loren.
The question is, why do people feel good eating a meat-based diet?
Well, that's because it's a species-appropriate, species-specific diet. It's absolutely how our genes have evolved and been selected for. It's how our organ systems are designed and organized. That's how our metabolic pathway works. Absolutely, that's how it should and ought to be. So that's why we feel good doing it. We're done. Thanks for joining me. Come back next time when someone else will be a fuckwit on the interwebs. Jesus, I can't speak today. It must be all this meat juice that I've been consuming. This is export meat juice, contains 100% juice of meat and nothing else whatsoever. And this is my second one, and already I can't speak. So this meat juice is good, isn't it? Right. Carry on, staff.
Okay, there has been a shocking trend lately of people adopting a meat-based diet. Some people...
A shocking trend of people adopting a meat-based diet. So we can already tell where Loren is going. If we couldn't, the second that he came up on the screen, yeah. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I would suggest that Loren is perhaps not the best supporter of the Meat Militia, where what we do, boys and girls, here in the Meat Militia is we overcome very, very bad ideas with much, much better ones. You can take that home, put it in the bank.
People are eating only meat. They say they feel better, they have more energy, etc.
Well, that's dreadful. We can't have people feeling better and having energy, Loren. People eating only meat say they feel much better and have much more energy. Ah, dear, oh dear, oh dear.
What, are you retarded?
Thank you for your input, Ted, and your constant support, my friend. He's always having a crack at me. So rude. So rude.
And the question is, why is that? What's going on there?
Well, I think I've already explained that.
And so I'm just thinking about how best to approach this for you.
But perhaps you should have done that before you started speaking and recording a video. Maybe have a plan, have a bit of a script, or at least block out your ideas in advance so that you know what it is you're going to say. That's a good approach, I think, to making videos, perhaps.
Okay, let's go back to something we were talking about yesterday or the day before, perhaps, which is a simple idea that
Yes? Yes? What?
Symptoms are evidence the body is cleansing or healing.
Oh, God. No. Not at all. Symptoms are usually a sign of a dysfunctional disease process. Absolutely, symptoms can be related to a detoxification cycle or a normal detoxification event in the body. Yes, absolutely, sometimes. But to make a blanket statement that all symptoms are detoxing, no, that's false.
Cleansing and healing don't feel very good when the
False, again,
body's toxic.
when the body's toxic. Mm-hmm.
Okay? So when the body's toxic and you're cleansing and healing, you can feel better by shutting off the processes of cleansing and
Processes, not processes. The word is processes.
healing. How do you do that? Eat a bunch of toxic stuff
What?
so your body can no longer effectively detoxify.
Your body is always effectively detoxifying. Whether or not it's getting on top of the toxic load that's being put in or not is a different story. Depends on the particular nature of the toxic substances concerned. What are they? How often are they being put in what level? This is all very clear, scientifically verifiable information, Loren. If you had bothered to have done even 5 minutes of study at any stage in your life ever, you'd know this. I'm a bit confused as to what you're trying to achieve, frankly. Yeah. But anyway, let's hear you out.
Couple that with the fact that excess protein acts as a stimulant in the body. So
A stimulant for what? We know it acts as a stimulant for gluconeogenesis if there's excess protein being taken in, but what else?
people feel energized. Okay? I mean,
Okay. Meat is bad. Okay. Plants are good. Okay.
be absolutely clear and feel free to go do the research.
Yes, I have done. Very, very much so over more than a quarter of a century as a senior academic in the field of human nutrition, among other things, Loren. So, you're talking to someone who really absolutely has done the research.
If you want, because the science is really clear.
Yes, I agree. The science is really clear about what human beings ought to consume. When you look at the actual science that can inform us on that question, Loren, and I suspect you're going to get this 180 degrees ass about face completely wrong. In fact, I know you are.
The more animal products you eat, the faster you age and die.
False. Completely false. There is no evidence anywhere in the scientific literature to support that ridiculous fucking claim. Not one single data point exists to support that idea anywhere.
Bollocks!
Yes, I agree, Ted. I agree. That was bollocks there from Loren. What is next?
To higher rates of cancer.
No.
Bollocks!
Heart disease.
Bollocks!
Dementia.
That's ironic, isn't it?
Bollocks!
GI tract problem.
Ah.
Bollocks!
In fact, the lower the intake of plant materials, the better bowel function is in the one and only one study that even remotely carefully attempted to even control and look at this objectively, actually, Loren. So, no, false, wrong.
And these people are insane.
Says this guy. Wow, incredible.
What, are you retarded?
I'm starting to have my doubts, Ted. I really am.
And, these are people who refuse to look at any information. They just...
No. I've looked at all of it very, very carefully as a senior academic, a professor in the field of health science for more than a quarter of a century, Loren. Have you? How many publications do you have in your name as first author and investigating scientist in any aspect of human nutrition? Any at all? How many credentials and qualifications do you hold? How many multi-million-dollar external consultancies have you completed? What qualifies you remotely to speak to anybody about health? I mean, do tell us all about health, though, son.
Just believe what they want to believe. And they
Projection, much? Wow, incredible.
they make the mistake of, so they start out, someone says, this is good for you, I feel much better, and they do it, and they feel better too. And they're misinterpreting what's happening, right? They don't understand that. I mean, again, as I said,
So feeling better and having much more energy, that's a mistake, is it? Better bowel function, lowered inflammation, better mental health, lowered incidence of autoimmune dysfunction. All just misinterpretations, are they, Loren? Okay, our mistake.
the other day, you want to feel better, like right now, we can get you some heroin.
Can you? All right. So is Loren now suggesting that that he's a drug pusher? I don't think he seriously was. I think he was being sarcastic to try and make a point. If I was Greg Douchebag Doucette at this stage, I would now edit this creatively to make it look like he said, let's get you some heroin. Wouldn't I? I won't do that because I'm not the sort of cookbook that Greg is. He's a complete cookbook, isn't he?
The objective is not to feel better instantly. The objective is to allow your body to cleanse and heal.
Your body's always cleansing perfectly effectively and healing perfectly effectively for the most part. The breakdown in a human body over time as it ages is not because of an inability to undertake these processes. Dear oh dear.
So you function.
They are programmed to slow down. You are programmed to become decrepit, to fall apart, and to eventually die at the end of your lifespan.
At an amazingly high level on an ongoing basis. These people are destroying their bodies.
Which people? The people that eat meat? Because they're not, Loren. They're not at all. No. False.
Okay? And
okay. That's your evidence for your assertion or your statement, so-called a fact, is it? It's just to say, okay. All right. Okay.
I mean, again, let's just look at some simple facts.
Yes, okay, simple facts, good.
Every species has digestive physiology.
Yes.
Specifically adapted to a particular diet.
Yes, including human beings. And the diet to which our physiology is adapted absolutely, without any question, unequivocally, is hypercarnivore. You know, one of us, Loren, is a professor of health science specializing in human nutrition, among other things, physiology of rest and exercise, including a significant understanding of human physiological systems, organ systems, anatomy, all of that kind of stuff. And one of us is you. Simple facts, you say. Well, let's have some simple facts.
Their species-specific diet.
Yes, species-specific diet. That's what you should consume. And the species-specific diet for a human being is hypercarnivore.
Okay?
Yes, okay.
In fact, I'm not sure, with some of you haven't heard this yet. So when we talk about nutrition, we're talking about two things. We're talking about macronutrients, proteins, carbohydrates, fats. We're talking about micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, enzymes, phytonutrients, etc.
The last one, phytonutrients, is a buzz term. It's nutrients that you find in plants. There are no phytonutrients that a human being cannot thrive and live a long and healthy life without consuming, or that they can't get an identical or even better form of from meat and animal fat. Not one. There are no deficiencies on a carnivore diet precisely because we are evolved for one. Okay? Actual facts, though. Sorry about that, Loren. What's next?
Phytonutrients means plant nutrients, so that
means nothing at all, because there are no nutrients in plants that we cannot get elsewhere or that we need. And in fact, most of the so-called nutrients in plants are actually not accessible to the human physiological system anyway, precisely because the plant makes that so.
Encompasses all the rest. Okay? Every species needs pretty much all the same stuff.
No. False again.
There are a few exceptions. For instance, we must consume vitamin C.
Yep. In a very, very small amount. A tiny amount, much lower than the RDAs suggest it needs to be. And if you consume a diet which is absent of carbohydrate, exogenous carbohydrate, then your intake of vitamin C is even lower again. I've covered that several times on my various social media platforms where I post videos and things at various times over the last 4 years or so. If people are interested in that, do a bit of Google searching. It's not hard to find, really.
Right? Or we developed a deficiency condition called scurvy.
Correct. Show me someone who eats a meat-only diet who is suffering from scurvy, Loren. Anyone, anywhere in the world. Shall we wait? I think we'll move on. Doesn't happen, son. You must be wrong about something. Gosh, did you ever consider that?
Our bodies must have vitamin C.
Yes, in a very small amount, and we get it from meat.
Why is that? Well, we're intended to be eating fresh plants.
No. False. Complete rubbish. Utter nonsense.
Which are all high in vitamin C.
No, they're not all high in vitamin C at all. False again. I wonder if he's going to say anything that's correct in this entire video at all.
That's what our bodies are made to eat.
Well, I suppose you said we need some vitamin C, which he was right about. We do.
So we don't need to make vitamin C. Rats' bodies.
It's not that we don't need to make vitamin C, Loren. The gene encoding for the enzyme that would allow us to create our own vitamin C is knocked out, eliminated from our genome, wiped off the face of the planet. There are no human beings alive today who can make their own vitamin C. It's not just we don't need to. Genes don't get knocked out unless they are a real problem. Okay, it's gone because it's meant to be gone. Okay? That's how Darwinian selection pressure works. I mean, why have we got teeth that look like frugivores' teeth? Yeah, we can't be a carnivore because we don't have sharp, pointy teeth like this. Well, we have teeth like this because we have a frugivorous past some 5 million years ago. There was no negative selection pressure to knock that gene out and to force us to grow sharp, pointy teeth like this, precisely because we never took down woolly mammoths by diving at them headlong with our mouths open. Okay? I have never sat down to a plate of ribeye steak prepared by my lovely partner and had to say to her, look, I'm very sorry. Thank you for making this beautiful steak for me, but I'm unable to eat it, you see, for I lack the sharp, pointy teeth required like this. That hasn't happened, not once in my life, Loren. Okay? Please grow a brain. Any brain will do.
Can make vitamin C because they may not get any fresh food. They don't need to have it. We do.
Yes, we do need some vitamin C, and we get it from meat.
Other animals that don't need to eat fresh food, like carnivores, don't need to eat vitamin C.
They do, in fact, because they get it from the meat too.
Okay?
Okay.
But basically all the needs are the same.
No, they're not. We've covered that. The needs are very different for different animals. That's what specialization's about, Loren. Fuck me, really?
What differentiates what a species can get from the diet isn't what's in the diet, because all the diets have pretty much the same stuff.
No, they don't. At all. No.
It depends on the digestive physiology. So cows and sheep and goats need the same things that we do. And
no, they don't, actually. They need quite different things.
They can get all their needs met by eating grass.
Not directly, in fact. If you understood the physiology of ruminant animals, you'd know what the problem with that statement is, Loren.
Anybody think we would do well eating nothing but grass?
Well, we wouldn't. We know we wouldn't, because we can't actually break down grass in the way that a cow does. We don't have 4 stomachs, 3 of which are fermentation chambers. Neither do we have a large convoluted cecum like our primate relatives that live largely on plant material. We are unable to cultivate a population of bacteria in our digestive system that would allow us to break any of that material down at all. So, no, we wouldn't do very well eating any plants, grass included. Thank you for supporting our argument and debunking your own, you absolute buffoon.
First of all, like a cow, you'd have to eat pretty much all the time.
Like vegans need to do 5, 6, 7 times a day, stodge themselves full of fibrous, pro-inflammatory, irritating material that they cannot digest and end up looking vastly healthy and quite replete in all things, including protein, obviously, and stuff. Loren, is that what happens? I don't know. Make your own decision, boys and girls, about that.
Because grass contains roughly 25% as many calories as the average fruit.
Calories are heat energy and nothing else. There is no animal that can absorb heat energy. No terrestrial animal living on Earth today. I'm not talking about deep sea animals that actually do this. Let's be correct. Animals that we think about on a day-by-day basis at large do not absorb heat and use that for metabolic process. The metabolic process that we use is run chemically using a substance called ATP as the storage of that chemical energy. It's not heat energy, it's chemical energy. Calories are not a valid measure of the energy effectively contained in foods that a human metabolic system can do anything with whatsoever, or a cow, or a sheep, or a pig, or a gorilla, or any of those animals, okay? They can't do that.
Fruit. So you're consuming something that has almost no calories, you'd be eating all day long.
That's right. That's why vegans have to keep grazing and poking in stuff that they can't absorb, because they are destitute, absolutely clearly destitute of nutrition, aren't they, Loren? No, I'm completely wrong and you're completely right, of course. My mistake.
Okay. Cows, sheep, and goats have 4 stomachs.
Sheeps and goats.
And they're populated by colonies of bacteria that are specialized.
No, only 3 of them, actually. The 4th one is actually used to douse said bacteria with acid, break those bacteria down, and digest them for proteins and nutrients, actually, Loren. That's what I was alluding to earlier.
Break down that high cellulose content. We don't share those physiological adaptations.
Right, so we're not designed to eat plants. Good. Thank you, Loren. What's next?
That's their diet. Our system is set up for our diet.
Yes, which is meat and animal fat.
Our systems, by the way, well, let's look at other species. Okay, carnivores.
Why would you want to look at another species? We're talking about human beings and their nutritional needs, aren't we, Loren? Are we going to do that at any stage?
Okay, let's say that this table is a 500-pound tiger.
Why would we imagine that a table is a tiger? He's right, though. The people that eat meat are the ones who are insane, aren't they, Ted?
Bollocks! What, are you retarded?
Wow.
Mouth to anus, 12 feet long. That's a little bit less than 4 meters.
So?
Okay. For the non-Americans here. 4 meters. Okay. It's relatively straight. It's relatively smooth. And it's relatively short for the size of its body.
Also, you'll notice that a tiger has 4 legs. We have 2 legs and 2 arms. It has sharp, pointy teeth like this. We don't. It has an acute sense of smell. We don't. It has acute hearing. We don't. It has great night vision. We don't. You'll notice there are many adaptations in a tiger which are quite different to those you'll find in a human being, precisely, Loren, because we are not the same fucking species. that does not mean that one of those, being a carnivore, would prove the other one is not. Example, the hagfish. The hagfish lives in the deep sea and it gets most of its nutrition by eating the carcasses of dead animals that float down from above, pretty much. It's a carnivore. It has no limbs at all. It has no stripes. It's not orange and black. It has no sharp, pointy teeth. In fact, it has no teeth of any kind. Therefore, it's not a carnivore? Because that's where you're going with this. You want to say a human digestive system is not the same as a tiger's. Well, we know that. We're not the same animal. What is your fucking point?
Why? Because when you eat a high-protein diet, you create many toxic byproducts.
Yeah, humans aren't designed for a high-protein diet. We're designed for a moderate-protein, high-fat diet. That's why our system is different from a tiger's. Okay?
That the body needs to eliminate as quickly as possible.
And that's why the tiger has evolved that way and we've evolved a different way. Good.
How many of you have a dog or have ever had a dog? Raise your hand. Okay, so you feed your dog. An hour or two later, you take it for a walk. And what happens? There goes the dinner.
Yeah, but that wasn't the dinner that it ate a couple of hours ago, you idiot. That was yesterday's. Is this guy really that fucking stupid? Is it possible? Have you ever noticed, Loren, that when you eat a meal, about an hour or two later, you often feel like, oh, I could probably have a dump now. It's not the same fucking meal, is it, you idiot?
Okay? In a well-functioning, in the average human body, 96 hours from entrance to exit.
Yeah, no, it's more like 24 to 36 for an optimally functioning human system. And that would be one that's not poisoning itself with plant materials, contraindicated fiber, and that kind of nonsense that slows things down and causes a problem.
Now, that's not healthy. That's typical. Because people, unlike every other species in nature, people eat all kinds of things that don't belong in the body.
Like plants and fiber.
Right? Healthy human body, 8 to 12 hours.
Yes, do tell us all about the healthy human body, Loren. All about it. Tell us everything we need to know to be healthy. Yep. Dunning-Kruger is incredible in these people, isn't it? And the cognitive dissonance, the pure cognitive dissonance of these clowns. Really. All about health. Yes, okay, good.
From entrance to exit.
We know where the entrance and exits are. You don't need to actually show us.
8 to 12 hours. A carnivore, it's an hour or two.
No, that's false. Utter nonsense. We've covered that.
People eating a meat-based diet aren't eliminating very often.
That's because there's very little waste, you idiot. It's because we absorb and utilize the vast majority of that which we eat.
Which means what? It means they're absorbing everything?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Still, not everything, most of it. That's why there is still some waste.
It means there's nasty, toxic stuff building up in their digestive tract.
No, it doesn't mean anything of the sort. Nonsense. Do you have any evidence to support that ridiculous claim anywhere at all? No, I thought not.
You know the stuff you guys are now hydrating and some of you are now eliminating? That's what's building up in their systems.
No, there's nothing building up in my system.
Is this a good thing? Of course not. Of course not. I mean, they're completely ignoring the facts.
Yeah, again, with the projection there, I think, isn't it, Loren? Who's ignoring the facts here and making up an ideologically based claptrappery to suit themselves, shimselves? Or if you're an attack helicopter, That's your pronoun then, isn't it? I'm an attack helicopter myself, so you're not allowed to be one, Loren, because attack helicopters express health, robustitude, common sense, intelligence, knowledge and wisdom. And Ted says you can't be a fee-fi-fo-fum either. Right, what's next?
Right?
No, wrong.
Carnivores.
Yes, because there are all sorts of different sorts of carnivores that have evolved in different niches and specialize differently and get their nutrition in slightly different ways. So which carnivore are you talking about?
Cannot afford to telegraph to their prey where they are.
Carnivores cannot afford to telegraph to their prey where they are? Oh, really? Because if I look out my window right now, about 5 yards from the window is the fence line to the paddock where the stock are kept. At this time, I can see one animal which will eventually feed me. It knows where I am. Hello, cow. Hello. I'm telegraphing to you where I am. I am your predator. At some point, I'm going to eat you. See, I'm not hiding that fact at all. The point is I've evolved differently from most predators because I'm a human being and we're a specialist that has particular techniques in the same way that a tiger does. Ours are different from a tiger's. What's your point, idiot?
Okay, a tiger, a lion, a bear, they need to sneak up on their prey.
Yeah, I don't. Hello. Hello, cow. This guy's just incredibly stupid. Or he thinks his audiences, or they are, or all of the above apply. Wow.
All right, they want to catch him by surprise as close as
Yeah,
possible.
you've said this. We understand. We get it. It doesn't apply to a human being. What's next?
So they have the best chance of catching them. They can't afford to have their prey.
Yes, you've made your point. We understand what you think your point is, and we're laughing at you, son. Move on.
Smells like a bear. Let's go away. Right? So carnivores don't sweat.
Nonsense. Nonsense. They do.
They pant.
Some carnivores pant. Others sweat. We're the kind that sweats. Hagfish neither pants nor sweats because it lives underwater at quite some depth. Okay?
cool down by panting like a dog or a cat. It's not a very efficient way to cool down, but they do this because they can't afford to have their prey know where they are. We don't pant.
That's because we don't need to, because we have sweat glands which have evolved precisely in order to allow us to specialize in the manner that we use to gain our nutrition, which is unlike the way a dog or a cat would do it, or a duckbill platypus.
We sweat. Okay? People who eat animal products tend to stink.
No, they don't. False again.
Except they'll stop stinking soon because they'll stop detoxifying.
Oh, fucking nonsense. Absolute fucking garbage. A person who stinks generally has a dysbiosis situation going on that underpins that situation, which is impacted by that person's diet, sure, over time. But the underlying root cause of the stinkiness is the dysbiosis situation, not the fact that they eat meat or don't eat meat. Are you seriously suggesting that nobody that stinks eats only plants? Because that's not true. It's rubbish.
When they become so toxic, until they fast. Take one of these meat eaters and have them fast, and no one here is going to be able to be in the room with them.
Nonsense again.
They're going to smell so bad.
Nonsense again.
That's what happens.
No, it fucking isn't. No amount of sitting there And lying to people makes the lie coming out of your mouth a truth. It's not. It's still a lie. You are a liar.
Okay?
No.
Carnivores have fangs.
No, they don't. See? I can also show you a picture of a hagfish. No fangs. None at all. How about a bird of prey? No fangs. So there you go. No, false.
They have teeth that allows them to bite through the leather skin of an animal.
The ones that take animals down that way, yes. We didn't do that. Have a look at the cave paintings, Loren. You'll see the men holding bows and sharp pointy sticks and throwing rocks and things. You won't see them diving headlong at woolly mammoths with their mouths open. Okay? Idiot.
If you have leather shoes, okay, that
Okay.
was the hide of an animal.
Yeah, we know that. We know where leather comes from. What's next?
Can you bite through that?
No, but then we don't need to either. We have tools. The very tools that we probably used to make the fucking shoes with in the first place, you absolute cock monkey.
I don't think so.
You don't think full stop. You are a fucking idiot. You're a charlatan. You're an ideologue. You're a clear paragon of health. Absolutely, from top to toe, by the look of things.
Your canine teeth, I mean, you want to try a quick experiment?
No, I don't, because it's not going to make any sense, your experiment.
Take your finger, stick it under your canine tooth, and bite down as hard as you like. Okay, I'll give you $20 if you draw blood. It's not going to happen.
That's because we've not had to do that at any time in our evolutionary past. Sharp, pointy sticks, bows and arrows, rocks, knives, opposable thumb, working brain, something you'd be unaware of or unaware of the existence of. Wow, just incredible, isn't it, kids?
One of those little kittens nips your finger, you're going to see blood.
Yeah, that's because a kitten has a different evolutionary past, and a kitten hunts in a very different way to what a human being does, Loren.
Okay, their teeth are designed.
We get it, you fucking moron. You absolute waste of oxygen. You sad fuck. We get it. You don't get it. That's the problem. You just don't get it at all, do you, son?
To rip through flesh. Your teeth are designed to rip through the flesh of an apple or a pear.
No, they're fucking not anymore. They're kind of a hybrid in between, actually, because we have evolved some in the last 5 million years. However, most of the flesh ripping that we've done in that time, we've done using tools. Okay, first of all, we chipped rocks into blade-type shapes. Then we discovered metal and discovered how to work metal, and we made knives out of that. Then there were lasers and things that can actually also cut through meat. That's a good one. Tools, you see? Tools.
Not through the skin of an animal. Okay, does this make sense?
Not at all, as I think I've made more than adequately clear. It does not make any sense at all that you would imagine your audience to be as stupid as they would need to be to suck that ridiculous lollipop. Okay? It's insulting. The sad fact is most of your audience probably are that stupid by virtue of agreeing to be your audience. I would suggest, Loren, that your IQ might struggle to make double figures, frankly. I'm being a bit facetious, absolutely, but with good purpose, because what you're saying is so absolutely fucking ridiculous, it's beyond laughable. And I'd say your audience has a similar sort of IQ level to you, clearly. If they're all nodding, going, yes, that makes good sense. Seriously? I mean, really? Seriously?
What, are you retarded?
Thank you, Ted.
Your digestive tract, some of you Most of us here are probably, well, I guess if we include everybody, we range from being maybe 20% to 50% the size of this 500-pound tiger, right? Most people here are anywhere between 100 and 250 pounds. And yet your digestive tract is nearly 3 times longer.
Yeah, that's because we have a slightly different evolutionary past, a slightly different pathway to where we are as a modern version of a human being, and slightly different nutritional pathways, specializations, niche.
Why is that?
Well, I've just said why.
That's because we're intended to consume things that create no toxic waste.
Oh, for fuck's sake, this is ridiculous. Plant materials contain a huge amount of toxins, inherently. The plant produces them precisely in order to discourage the eating of those plants by animals. If anything is going to be toxic, it's going to be plant material, buffoon, especially plant material that humans cannot fucking digest. Okay?
So it can take 6 times longer to move through your system without harming you. No problem. Okay?
No, that's just utter nonsense. Complete fucking nonsense.
You get stuff through this 32-foot long digestive tract.
Our digestive tract, among other things, is a lot longer than that of, for example, the tiger, because a tiger survives by eating a huge amount of meat and some fat relative to its own body mass, and it moves that through relatively quickly, not as quickly as you're suggesting earlier on, but relatively quickly, and absorbs an amount of that and defecates out the rest. Right? Very straightforward. Human will eat on a more regular basis than, for example, a lion or a tiger, precisely because we have developed techniques by which we can be much more successful at hunting much more regularly than other animals. We have a smaller oral cavity than most of those animals relative to our body size. We have smaller stomachs relative to our body size than those animals. We eat less more regularly. We move it through more slowly, and we digest more of it, producing much less waste. Unless, of course, we believe clear paragons of health, like this bloke, and try to get our nutrition using a completely species inappropriate and inspecific methodology that is designed absolutely to cause us toxic overburden, inflammation, loss of condition, sarcopenia, what else? Brittle bones, premature aging, and generally being weak, decrepit, and, let's be honest, lowered intelligence. For example. Anyway, what's next, Loren?
Easy. Make sure it contains ample water and ample fiber.
Ample fiber for a human being, Loren, is none. Not 1 gram ever is required. None at all.
Anyone remind me, how much fiber does meat have?
None. That's because we don't need any. We've evolved eating meat. That's why we don't need any fiber. It actually turns out, Loren, that fiber is contraindicated in the human colon. It causes more problems than many other things, actually. It's pro-inflammatory. It's damaging to the gut lining. It causes an overburden of a need to produce mucus in the colon. It's all around. It's associated with, in a dose response way, it's associated with so-called idiopathic constipation, hemorrhoids, bleeding of the bowel. It's nasty, nasty stuff. Fiber is not required by human beings. Not 1 gram of fiber, not ever. What's next?
Oh yeah, 0.
That's right. 0, because that's how much we need.
Okay, that's why the animals that eat it have short, smooth, straight digestive tract.
No, it isn't. It's got nothing to do with fiber. One of us is a comparative anatomist and physiologist, among other things, Loren. And the other one is you, a clear paragon of health who wants to tell us all about how we can't possibly be carnivores because we don't have sharp, pointy teeth like this. Okay.
They don't have to go through all these torturous turns. Remember, from the bottom of my stomach to the
He doesn't even know where his stomach is. He's pointing in completely the wrong area.
ileocecal valve, where my large intestine starts. That's the length of the small intestine. On my relatively long torso, that's what, about 12 inches, 30 centimeters? In that space, there's like 7 meters of small intestine.
It's because our small intestine is highly evolved to gather, garner, and absorb almost completely fats and protein and a small, very small amount of carbohydrates, almost entirely. The waste is almost none at all.
6+ meters of small intestine in that space. It's all twists and turns. Okay?
So,
That they don't have that because they would never eliminate if they did. Study public.
they've evolved differently from us. They're a different animal with different biological structures. Well, fuck me. So what?
In 2013 showed very conclusively. Anyone familiar with telomeres?
Yes, very familiar.
What's a telomere?
La, 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 la.
It's a little tail on the DNA. And that little tail, when we are little babies, that tail is long. And as we age, it gets shorter and shorter. And as you overexercise, it gets shorter.
Mhm.
And as you don't get enough sleep, it gets shorter.
Mhm.
And as you eat excess protein, it gets shorter.
So don't eat excess protein. Eat the right amount of protein.
Our protein needs are tiny.
Not tiny. Not tiny at all. They're moderate.
Tiny.
No. Saying tiny a number of times doesn't make it correct. It's not correct.
So,
And by the way, it really looks like, your band of folks that you clearly identify with, those vegan folks, you'll notice that those folks seem absolutely to express less body protein than their otherwise fit, healthy components, I guess, or matched pairs in the society who actually do get sufficient protein. Okay. Sufficient protein, you say?
again, on a typical day, these days, the last week, I think I've had a salad every night.
That shows.
So I'm getting all my protein from a watermelon or from 10 or 12 little bananas, which
That shows.
I had yesterday for lunch, and then a salad at night.
Right. Well, that explains a lot, doesn't it? Boop, boop.
Fair, about a head of lettuce, a tomato or two, a couple of cucumbers, an avocado, and I'm getting all the protein I need to stay strong and fit.
Yes, obviously. Yes, of course. Our bad. Yeah. Rightio then.
We don't need tons of protein.
That's correct. We don't need tons, but we do need a moderate amount.
And if we eat tons of protein, we age and die faster.
Well, that's correct. You shouldn't do that. Not necessarily the age and die faster thing. It's correct that you shouldn't consume too much protein because that will cause a problem in your metabolic pathways, a gluconeogenic problem. Okay?
This is really clear. Like this, science is clear about this.
Yes, science really is clear about a lot of things. You haven't presented any science or said anything remotely scientifically supported about how a human being should eat. You've waffled inanely in the exact way that we would expect an ideologue of your ilk to do. Nothing you are saying here are things that we have not heard before from other morons of the same theological church, the Grand Church of Anorexia Vegana. It's fucking nonsense from start to finish. There is not a single thing to commend your ideology. Not a single thing at all to do with human nutrition, human health, or environmental factors. You have absolutely everything you say about this material completely wrong, demonstrably wrong, easily established as wrong within seconds. This is just amazing to me that there are still fuck monkeys like you running around the place making these ridiculous fucking videos. We have dealt with this. Come up with another argument, because this one's no good. What's next?
So you want to understand, I mean,
I do understand very, very well.
it's no different. People say, I drink a cup of coffee, I feel energetic. Must be.
Yeah, but that's a stimulant and it's a toxin. That's not indicated in the human diet. Animal protein and animal fat is.
Good for me then.
No, that's a false logic. Anyone that says coffee is good for you doesn't know much about anything. It's not.
No, it's a stimulant, which is abusing your adrenal glands.
Yeah, and where does it come from? Does it come from an animal or a plant, by the way?
All stimulants do that.
No, not all stimulants.
Okay, excess protein is a stimulant.
No, not particularly. Not in the way that caffeine is at all. And it's not necessarily immediately problematic in the way that caffeine absolutely can be. You can kill yourself with caffeine. Go ahead and try and kill yourself with too much protein. We'll wait. Perhaps we won't wait.
Okay.
No, it's not okay. This ridiculous nonsense is not okay. No, Loren.
I mean, again, these are people who often, I don't know if they're lazy, unwilling to think, or unable to think.
Projection again. Methinks.
But they are missing some very simple points here.
Again with the projection.
We share nothing in common with the body of a carnivore.
Yes, we do, because we are a carnivore. We share nothing in common with the body of a hagfish, another carnivore, and we share not much in common with lions, tigers, etc., another carnivore. We are a specialist. We are an individual species evolved on a certain specialist niche to a high level. And it happens to be a carnivorous animal that we are. Sorry about that, Loren.
Okay.
No, it's not okay.
Gout. What's gout? Anyone know?
Gout is an inflammatory response, and it is characterized by a buildup of crystals of urate in the joints. Usually occurs firstly in the first joint of the big toes. It can move to other areas, but that's the area for some reason that generally seems to express it first. It is absolutely an inflammatory immune dysfunction, though.
Buildup of uric acid in the body.
No, not uric acid, urate.
Uric acid.
No, urate.
Comes from other places from protein consumption. Protein.
Among other places, yes. Absolutely. But in a normally healthy, functioning human body, excess urate, and not uric acid, is excreted. It's only when you get into a problem, which is basically an immune and inflammatory dysfunction that breaks down the systems that would lead you to effectively filter out and eliminate that substance, and it starts to pull. And when it gets to a certain concentration and there's a certain pH derangement in those tissues, then it precipitates out and forms crystals. Those crystals cause a damage to the tissues in which those crystals are forming, and that leads to yet more inflammation and pain. It's pretty straightforward.
Metabolism. Carnivores, because they consume a high-protein diet, make an enzyme called uricase.
Some do. Yeah. Humans, however, have the vitamin C gene knocked out. We can't make any vitamin C at all, and we don't particularly consume a lot of vitamin C. Ergo, we would require a water-based antioxidant in our blood at a higher level than, say, an animal that can make its own vitamin C, a different sort of carnivore. And as such, we do have such a water-based antioxidant that we retain to a higher level than other animals do, precisely by knocking out the uricase gene. And that, of course, would be urate, wouldn't it? Okay, good. Let's move on.
Guess which species, among others, doesn't make uricase?
Yeah, humans, for the reason I've just explained.
We have no way to
Don't point at yourself and indicate that you're a human, sunshine.
process this stuff, okay?
We can process it at the kidney and eliminate it as required. I've eaten almost nothing but animal flesh and animal fat for 7.5 years now, sunshine. No gout. Okay, I've got colleagues and friends who have been doing it longer than I have. One of them has been doing it for 39 years. No plants to speak of at all in 39 years. No gout. So there goes that argument. What's next?
I mean, it's absurd to imagine that we should be eating a meat-based diet.
No, it isn't. It's absurd to imagine that we should do anything other than that. In fact, when you actually understand what the science does tell us, what the physiological signals that we can get do tell us, what the anthropology does tell us, everything points in the same direction. We are absolutely obligate hypercarnivores. Fact, whether you like that or not, Loren.
But, it's literally no different than going, man, I took this heroin yesterday. I felt amazing.
That's completely different from taking heroin. A species-appropriate, species-specific diet is not heroin. It's the flesh and fat of animals.
Stuff must be good for me because I feel incredible. It's no different.
Yes, it is. It's very, very different, you absolute fuck monkey.
We have to look beyond
You total ass trumpet. You fucking moron. This is what's insane. This is ridiculous.
the short-term effect of the diet.
Short-term effect of the diet. Great. Do you have any experiments which show the short-term effect of any diet in any way in terms of heart health outcomes in people that's properly designed, properly controlled, properly observed, all of that?
And try to understand what's actually happening. And science is really clear about this.
Yes, you've said that, but you don't understand science. Clearly, I do. I've spent more than a quarter of a century as a senior academic, as a scientist, as a publishing research scientist, lecturer, and consultant. I really understand science well. And it is absolutely clear and patent that you have not the first fucking idea about science. You don't know dick about fuck Jon Snow. What's next?
It's really, really clear.
Your science is to tell me I can't possibly be a carnivore because I don't have sharp, pointy teeth like this. Really? Okay. Carry on.
Honestly, the China study, Kate.
The China study is not a peer-reviewed piece of evidence. It's an opinion piece put together by a charlatan, an ideologue, someone with an axe to grind, and it has been absolutely eviscerated, debunked, and torn to shreds by thousands and thousands of actually competent scientific commentators, myself included, innumerate times. Move on. The China study. No. Unacceptable. Rubbish. What's next?
T. Colin Campbell, Caldwell Esselstyn, published, 20 years ago now?
Yes, nonsense. It's absolute garbage from start to finish, and it's been shown to be so by multiple, very, very highly credentialed and accredited academics.
Clear. You add small amounts of animal protein to your diet, you dramatically increase rates of disease.
That's an association, not a cause and effect statement, number one. Number two, if you want to point the finger of blame at animal protein, you need to eliminate everything else, because different combinations can be problematic. When you consume a diet which is richer in animal protein than it was previously, almost universally as a function of doing that, you're going to increase the fat intake, which is indicated in fine so long as you remove all the carbohydrates, because of a thing called the Randall cycle. Go and look that thing up, Loren. If you don't eliminate those carbohydrates and you just add meat in, of course you're going to have a problem. There's no surprise there. It's exactly what we'd expect. The species-appropriate, species-specific diet is not balanced in terms of all three macros. That's a bad idea.
My theory that another reason that there's this huge trend toward the carnivore diet is that, obviously vegetables, particularly legumes and grains, do contain plant toxins, and today with so many people compromising their guts with antibiotics and things, they have all kinds of, they respond to with plant toxins really strongly, so they're chronically inflamed in all the tissues, and so it's kind of an elimination diet. As soon as they take those out,
Isn't it amazing how interested people are about what this clown is saying in his own fucking center, that they're holding their own conversations? Not that they're done with this clown. They're not even fucking listening, and rightly so, because he's an absolute waste of skin.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Many people feel better because they're eliminating a lot of things that were harming them. Okay. But again, I mean, our systems are virtually identical. They're not quite identical to the chimpanzees and bonobos because
we're very closely related. We split away from the common ancestor that we had with those other species relatively recently in terms of our genetic past, and so it's no surprise that we have some similarities. To suggest we're almost identical, that's a real stretch, though. We're not. There are some quite significant, quite obvious differences between us and the animals that he's referring to.
their large intestines proportionally longer than ours relative to their system. Why? Because
it's a fermentation chamber, it also has a significant cecum attached to it. We don't have that.
they're in a situation where sometimes they have to eat higher fiber content food. And their longer large intestine allows them to do a better job of breaking that stuff down and getting the nutrients from them.
Some of the nutrients.
We don't need to eat that stuff. We don't need to eat anything that we can't easily digest. So we don't. Most of
Well, you do if you're a vegan.
us, I mean, some of us don't. We don't need to have that longer large intestine. When we do eat those things, we wind up with problems because of that. Okay? So, what's really, really clear is not just that we shouldn't.
Fiber is one of those things, Loren, and you were talking not that very long ago about how important it is to have enough fiber. So which is it, son? Which is it? Do we need to eat things that we can't digest, or do we not need to do that? The answer is not.
Feeding animals. That's the first piece. But, a lot of people become vegan or vegetarians, and even there, the science is clear that even...
You've said that already several times, but it's also really clear that you don't have the first clue what the science is at all.
Though people have trouble with grains and with legumes and with all these things. I mean, they contain a lot of valuable nutrients. They also contain some anti-nutrients. And vegans live longer than people who aren't vegans.
No, they don't. False again. There is no evidence to support that claim anywhere in the literature. None at all.
And they have lower rates of disease.
No, they don't. That's false again as well. That's another lie.
Science is clear about this.
No, it isn't, in fact. If anything, the science indicates that there is no meaningful difference in the respects that you've just spoken about between different populations of people. And even if there were, there are no cause and effect experiments to point the finger of blame at any one particular factor out of the multiple tens of thousands of different degrees of freedom that a human will experience during their lifetime, which will impact their longevity. Okay, we're done with that. That's ridiculous. It's absolute rubbish. It's nothing but ideology, and you're a fucking crackpot. What's next?
Even though a typical vegan diet's not that healthy, not compared to what our bodies are actually intended for.
That's because of the vast, gross, huge destitution of required nutrient for human beings that you will find in any vegan diet. You cannot derive the nutrient you need as a human being from such a diet. It is impossible. What's next?
You take any species and give it cooked food, it gets sicker.
Except humans.
Take a milk from a cow, pasteurize it, which is a cooking process.
No, it isn't. You don't even understand what pasteurization is. Pasteurization is a brief flash exposure to a high temperature sufficient to kill bacteria and other small microorganisms that would otherwise be in the milk, which might be problematic to people should they ingest those things in a living format. It's not cooking at all.
To kill bacteria and feed it to the calf that it was originally intended for.
So feed an animal something different from what it was intended to eat, and it might not do very well on that. A calf is absolutely supposed to be exposed to those things that the mother's milk contains. That's the reason the mother's milk contains those things. Humans, most humans, don't do very well on dairy because it's not designed for us. Some humans can consume dairy and get benefit from it without at least obvious negative consequences, and good luck to them. I'm not one of those myself. Neither are most human beings. The degree to which we react badly to milk of a bovine nature depends from person to person on our particular individual status, but nonetheless, as a generalized statement of fact, bovine dairy is not designed for human beings. Neither is pasteurized bovine secretions designed for baby cows. What's your point, other than no point once again?
And the calf won't do very well.
Surprise, surprise.
Okay, cooking destroys nutrients and creates toxins.
No, not necessarily at all.
So what's clear is we should be eating raw food.
No, that's not clear at all. Human beings have been using fire for, it seems, like up to 700,000 years. We have been cooking our meat and fat and a few tubers here and there for 700,000 years. We're evolved for it. Other animals not so much so because they haven't been doing that. What's next?
But not just any raw food, because raw vegetables are very difficult for our bodies to digest and usually contain
Is this guy a Fruit Loop? Seems like it.
nutrients. Why do they contain anti-nutrients? And why is it so surprising to people? It's amazing how many
He's a Fruit Loop.
people argue with me when I say we shouldn't eat broccoli, whatever it is. Because we've all been led to believe these things are really good for us. Forget about how densely with nutrients something is. That doesn't matter. As I said yesterday, it's not about what goes in the durian hole. It's about what gets to the cells. We eat things that contain nutrients, tons of nutrients, but we can't digest it. How does it help us? It doesn't. We want to focus on consuming those things that our bodies, our digestive systems are actually set up for. What is that?
Meat and animal fat.
Fruit?
No, not at all. False.
Soft, tender leaves?
No, false.
Okay, not cabbage?
No.
Not kale?
No, not kale either.
Not collard greens?
No, not collard greens.
Okay, simple rule of thumb. If you could take the leafy green, make a pair of shoes out of it, don't eat it. Okay? These dense leaves, they're dense because they contain cellulose and complex carbohydrates that our bodies don't digest very well. You can cook them to break it down, and then you destroy nutrients and create toxins. Okay, we create toxins by cooking them.
You said that and it was wrong the first 3 times you said it.
So why would we eat that stuff? I mean, why would we do that when...
So how is it that you can get to an understanding that most plant materials are absolutely problematic for long-term human health, longevity, etc., and then turn around and say, but eat fruit instead? When fruit is just as damaging to human health long-term as the other nonsense that you're talking about. and spend most of your time decrying our actual species-appropriate, species-specific diet, which absolutely is the flesh and fat of animals, whether you like that or not. Because a fruit-based diet will not be replete. It will not contain the nutrient you require as a human being, obviously. Okay? We're done. I would have thought so. You've still got a few minutes left, though, so go on.
Everything we need is available from eating fruit and leafy greens.
False. Absolutely false. How much omega-3 oil will you get from fruit and leaves? None. How much preformed vitamin A, the form that you actually require, will you get? None. How much creatine? You can make your own creatine, absolutely, but if you have to, that drags your system down on doing other things. How much preformed cholesterol? Same argument. How much vitamin K, D? Could go on all day. There are a number of amino acids that you will not get from fruit. Ergo, you will have a problem forming enough protein. But what do I know?
Soft, tender leafy greens. That's all we need.
Wrong. False. Absolutely false. I mean, that's a diet that's very, very poor in fat for a start. So how are you going to actually solute and carry most of the fat-soluble micronutrients around your body? How are you going to achieve that?
Okay, this is what works. It works really, really well for
Yeah, obviously.
everyone.
No.
In fact,
Oh, in fact. Of course, if you say in fact before saying something, it makes it true, whether it is or not. Those are the rules.
and there are people out there who say, well, I tried raw vegan, didn't work for me. Right? Well,
Oh, well, they did it wrong, and they never really were a raw vegan, of course.
usually happens is they feel amazing at first, 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes even for months or longer. And then what happens?
But then the nutrient deficiencies kick in and they start to suffer and their health catastrophically fails, Loren. That's what happens. That's why 84% of people that ever try any kind of plant-exclusive diet quit doing that within 5 years, and 90% of those people say the reason that they quit was catastrophic health failure born of nutrient deficiency. Some of those people do permanent damage to their health in a short period of time of avoiding a species-appropriate form of nutrition. Okay?
They begin to feel bad. In some cases, they might actually be creating deficiencies.
In every case, because a plant-based diet is deficient, demonstrably.
Right? We talked yesterday about B12.
There you go. There's another example which I didn't list earlier. That's the one people usually go to first. That's why I didn't mention that one. I wanted to mention some different ones for once. You cannot get B12 other than by eating animal products.
What if
Or at least you want to go and eat some dirt. Go for it.
they're dehydrated, like almost everybody is? They might not be getting enough B12. Okay? They might wind up with other issues as well. But it's not because there's a problem with the diet.
Yes, it is because there's a problem with the diet. It's destitute of nutrient requirements for human beings. That's why it fails invariably in people, human beings who try it, because it is inappropriate. And while ever time elapses before their health catastrophically fails, it patently obviously fails to a lesser degree before the catastrophic failure. Although I would suggest that some people, Loren, might already be at the catastrophic health failure when their cognition is so limited and so poor that their basic argument against the carnivore diet is, we don't have sharp pointy teeth like this. And carnivores are smelly and stuff.
It's because there's a problem with the body. What we need
What, you mean nutrient deficiency born of a diet that's inappropriate? Okay.
to do is put the body in a situation where it can easily get everything it needs.
Yes. Tell us all about getting everything you need for your body, Loren.
Because it's working as well as possible. And this is what happens when the body's clean and hydrated. Remember, our digestive systems are virtually identical to our closest primate relative.
No, they're not. That is false.
Who eat almost exclusively fruit and soft, tender leaves.
It's not true. Our digestive systems are not virtually identical to theirs at all. The volume, size, and length of our small and large intestines is completely different. They have a huge functioning cecum. We don't. Just nonsense. They are evolved in a completely different niche to us. We have adapted our bodies to suit the niche we have evolved in, and that is carnivore.
They eat a few insects. You can if you want to. They eat meat 2 or 3 times a year. If you're going to eat meat 2 or 3 times a year, it'd be a hell of a lot better than 2 or 3 times a day.
False.
What?
And you don't need to eat meat 2 or 3 times a day. 1 meal a day is perfectly sufficient.
The way most people do it.
They don't. You'll find that most people that eat a meat-exclusive diet will eat once a day. Very few of them eat multiple times a day. The ones that do eat multiple times a day tend to be athletes of some kind or bodybuilders, whatever, in general.
Okay, the less is more in this case, but we don't need it at all.
False. Absolutely false. We do need meat. We do need animal fat. We do not need plants. These are the facts.
Okay?
No, it is not okay that you're sitting there and saying that. I don't know if you own a mirror at all, son, but perhaps you should invest in one of those.
So, remember, it's not about nutrient density. We don't need more protein. We don't benefit from more protein.
We don't need more than what we need, but we need more than what some people are getting, don't we, Loren? I would suggest we do.
The nutrients in the animal products, all the vitamins and minerals are coming from where? When people eat meat and they're getting all these nutrients, where are those nutrients actually coming from?
The meat they're eating.
Plants. From the plants that the animals ate.
So fucking what? The herbivorous animals are designed to get nutrient from eating plants. We're not. We're designed to get our nutrients by eating animals that ate plants. Wow, this is fucking incredible, isn't it? All right, I'm done. He's done. That's enough. He's summing up. Just wow. It'll never stop, will it, this nonsense, boys and girls? Join me next time when someone else will be wrong on the internet. 2, 3, 4. And stuff. Right, good.